Hey, Silverzol. Um, this is a hopefully fast response video. I have a little bit of a cold, so don't mind a cough drop and potentially hacking up a lung. But anyway, I'll make this as efficient as possible. We made a couple of videos in response to Cashify's comments on um, the nature of quantum physics and the observer and a connection to empirical reality, subject and object, and so on and so forth. I guess I'm just chiming in because I had a little bit of a synchronicity today, because as I've been watching your videos, I've also been reading Wei Wu Wei, and he put it in a way that I very much appreciated. Now the whole what's the experiment? The wave particle experiment somehow implies that subject and object are intrinsically related. The relationship of the subject to the object influences it. And I think what Cashify was at least part of what he was saying was, the reason for this is because there is no intrinsic difference between subject and object. And I was reading Wei Wu Wei, and he has a very interesting way of describing subject and object relationships. And he goes so far as to say that the objectification of the world, I and thou, as separate entities, is an illusory conceptualization, which in reality are no objects, and there is only subject. There are no objects of perception, but perceiving. The phenomenal world is a dream of the noumenal, and I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of these things. So, I mean, I don't know how far your argument went with Cashify, but I don't know. I mean, what would you think of something like that? Actually, just saying the reason why we're influencing those sort of things is because our consciousness is that, because that is not, if that makes any sense. Our consciousness is that, what we see is what we are, because we are not things. And this is just a dreaming of God. You and me have an eye that is always seeing and dreaming, but has no content of its that is intrinsically itself. And this is the whole concept of Shunyata, or void, which doesn't mean total black nothingness. It means no thingness, which also means that everything can be, but it is phenomenal. It's not really objectified. And what happened was, in quantum physics, the Buddhists and quantum physicists get along because the metaphor in quantum physics, there are particles as such don't really exist as we perceive them or conceptualize about them. Their potentialities, their tendencies to appear one way or another. And those sort of non-local ideas are wonderful metaphors. Those quantum physics descriptions are wonderful metaphors for Buddhist concepts. And some of them go to the point of saying, look, it doesn't mean they're anything more than a metaphor. It doesn't mean that we should be taking them seriously as anything beyond a metaphor, but they're a great metaphor. So, I mean, I guess Kashify has decided, based on what he's read, that, it is beyond just a metaphor. It's, there you go, there is the observation in physical reality, how it's intrinsically connected to consciousness and subjective. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a difference of opinion. And at the same time, I like what the mindfulness teacher Sinzen Young says, which I guess is a little bit more of a conservative statement, but use them as metaphors because they're really useful. The jury is still out on whether they are true, but I guess if you're web away, it doesn't really matter because true as in empirically true, yeah, it's not that. It is not any more real than you, who you really are, who is not an object. And this separation between subject and object, though perhaps useful for dreaming and falling into this dreaming state of dreaming the world, is not ultimately, the phenomenal world is not ultimately objective. Ultimately, it is mind, and so on and so forth. I don't know. I've always liked these descriptions. I've always found them very helpful. I haven't used the quantum physics metaphors as much. But I would say regardless of what quantum physics tells us, these things stand true. True as in, you are that. True as in, all is mind. True as in, there is no objective reality apart from the subjective. There is no dream without the dreamer. That is true no matter what. It would be very fascinating if this dream began to tell us that back through science, through empirical studies. Because and I like what you said, we have to experience this dream, whether or not it is ultimately, whether or not it is ultimately illusory. We still have to live, and we have to make decisions, and so on. And realizing it's a dream, it doesn't solve that. It doesn't make you feel like you don't have to help people or that it's okay. It kind of makes you empathize more with people because you want them to realize who they really are. And it makes you empathize more because it is not some other reality. The ultimate is right here and right now. It is all that is being dreamed. Where else is there to be? And this is why I particularly like Zen, because it has such a focus on the immediacy and how that just is. Where is mind? Well, you can look at the mountain and you can look at your thoughts. Treat them the same and know that you are not intrinsically them. What are you then? It's that sort of deeper awakening and recognition of your true nature. The awakening of the bodhisattva, those sort of things. And when you do that, then you have a deeper compassion and empathy. And I think there are different ways to do this, of course. There are different paths to realizing your connection. But yeah, I don't think these things are necessarily bad. We just can't make them some kind of escapism from this world. Anyway, I guess I'll end this here. Thanks for listening, and yeah, great videos, great thoughts.